Welcome to Washed Up, your mother's favorite sports show, bringing you more action in this 2020 bowl season, which is crazier than most bowl seasons, and that's saying a lot. My partner, JD Piquel, isn't it?
Man, it's wild. This is wild that we have this kind of chaos in the bowl mania season, and I'm fired up, man. I'm just glad that we have the bowl season, quite frankly. I'm glad that we're able to get this playoff, even with all the madness going on. It finds a way, man. It finds a way.
Tell me something crazier than the Rose Bowl not being in the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, doesn't that just feels wrong, doesn't it? I don't understand how you can call it the Rose Bowl. I know there's a lot of people in suits that make these decisions that make a lot more money than me, but still, is it really the Rose Bowl if it's not happening in the Rose Bowl?
I don't know, man. There's not even a Rose Parade anywhere near Arlington, Texas.
Yeah, it got canceled. What? It got canceled in March. It got canceled a full 8 months in advance, 9 months in advance. But I digress.
So, anyways, we have this bowl game down in Texas where Alabama will be playing Notre Dame. JD, believe it or not, for the playoff semifinals, and the spread may be the largest spread you'll ever see in a semifinal playoff CFP game at 19 and a half. I think we can easily say Alabama's going to win this game, JD. Tell me the reasons why you think that, and then let's move on to how you should bet this game.
Yeah, you hit it on the head. 19 and a half is really going to be our talking point. But when you look at Alabama, I mean, offensively, they just have no weaknesses. Najee Harris is an absolute force back there in the backfield. Mac Jones makes great decisions. Decisions are usually pretty easy with Devontae Smith running routes. I think he's going to win the Heisman and be the first receiver in a long time to do so. They just can hurt you in so many different ways. If you want to creep up and play the run game, Devontae Smith is right behind you. Jalen Waddle may even be coming back. I know we saw on Devontae Smith's Instagram, Jalen Waddle going without any boot, any crutches. He's moving around, it looked like, in that locker room just fine. So if he comes back, they will really have problems. But all things considered, Bama is just too strong offensively. And defensively, haven't played their best ball, especially against Florida. I know they kind of slipped up a little bit against them, but I don't see Notre Dame giving them too much trouble, Jake. I think Alabama rolls in this one by, dare I say it, if not 19 and a half, it'll be pretty close.
Yes, and obviously Nick Saban very accustomed to playing in these types of games. I can't help but think of a couple years ago when Notre Dame faced Trevor Lawrence his freshman year. I was high on Notre Dame that year. They had a couple great cornerbacks. I thought they were going to give Trevor Lawrence some problems, and Clemson just threw all over Notre Dame. That was an ugly loss in the playoffs. And so here we are again. I can't go with Notre Dame, not just because I'm a Trojan, JD, but just because Alabama is too good. They have athletic freaks everywhere, as you pointed out. And let's talk about this spread. Does Ian Book have any sort of hope of catching up, having any firepower to keep it within 3 touchdowns?
Gosh, Ian Book, I don't know if he does. I think he probably won't be the big differentiating factor for this Notre Dame offense. I think it starts up front. Notre Dame is a lot better in the trenches, both offensively and defensively. I think a lot of people want to give them credit for. They've recruited really well in the past couple of years and gotten some big boys, some USDA-approved sirloin, if you will, up in those trenches. So I think if Notre Dame wants to keep that within that 19.5-point margin of that spread, I think you got to run the ball effectively, which is easier said than done against this Alabama team. But if you're Notre Dame, you have to find a way to take some pressure off of Ian Book, allow him to distribute the football with a little less pressure on him. Because if they're able to get up on this Notre Dame team by 2-3 scores in the early going, they're going to be able to just pin their ears back and go after Ian Book, because Notre Dame will be having to pass the ball so much to try and play catch-up. So for Notre Dame, get to your tempo, be able to control the tempo of this game, and find a way to get 3 yards of pop on the ground.
Yeah, I agree. They really have to slow this game down if they have any chance of staying within 3 touchdowns. So I think, what are you doing in this game, JD? You taking the 19 and a half with Notre Dame, or are you laying them and taking them rolling Tide?
You know what? I'm going to have to take Notre Dame plus 19 and a half. I don't love I don't love the feeling of taking 19 and a half against Alabama, because Alabama could very easily cover that. I have to think Brian Kelly's going to draw up some sort of game plan that's going to allow Notre Dame to stay in this game at least till the third quarter, or at least keep it within 2 scores till the third quarter. And maybe Notre Dame gets a garbage touchdown and keeps it within 2 scores. I don't know. I don't feel great about it, but I'm taking Notre Dame. 19.5 just feels like way too much, Jake.
Well, I thought 13 was too much 2 years ago when Notre Dame played Clemson, but I was sorely wrong. And so I remember that. That's too fresh in my memory, JD. I'm taking Alabama. You're swallowing the points. So I guess we disagree here, but not much of a disagreement when we talk about Alabama will be playing the week after in the national championship game. The next,
we got the tickets booked.
Oh yes, the next game
booked, if you will.
I wish we could book tickets to that. The next game we are talking about is later on January 1st. This is the night game, 8 Eastern. This is the Sugar Bowl, JD, where this is the matchup we are all waiting for. Clemson versus Ohio State, rematch from last year. I know that game ended pretty sorely if you're a Buckeyes fan. JD, I know we both had some little sprinkle on that game as well, that we walked away shaking our heads, especially after that, what was it, the PI call or the fumble, that's right, that scoop and score that was wrongly called that cost Ohio State a touchdown, JD. But I don't think this one's coming down to a missed call. I think Trevor Lawrence here, JD, takes care of the Buckeyes more so than even last year and really makes an exclamation mark why he should be the number 1 overall draft pick.
Yeah, Jake, thanks for reminding me about that. I'm actually still paying back my losses from that game. It was really, really tough for me. I know it was not as tough for you, being of how affluent you are and how well that your startup Let's Engage has done, as you are, again, the CEO and president. So if you don't know about Let's Engage, it's a shameless plug there for my guy. But yeah, I think Clemson, look, they're going to want to just come out and make a statement in this game. Ohio State, not the same team from a year ago. Quite frankly, Justin Fields not the same player he was a year ago. I don't know how much COVID has impacted that, but he just doesn't look like he's quite found his rhythm yet. He looks like he's digressed a little bit. Some scouts are saying his draft stock is down. So all things considered, Ohio State, do they deserve to be in the top 4? 100%, absolutely. Do they have a chance against Clemson? I don't think so. I think Clemson, even with the 7.5, I probably would take them if I were to be a gambling man, which, again, we've already established that we both are. But, again, Trevor Lawrence, he's just too good. This Clemson defense, they're hungry. They have their eyes set on Bama. This rematch, I like Clemson to roll in this one, Jake.
I agree. I think Lawrence and Etienne proved too much for this Buckeye defense. Again, Ohio State hasn't shown a lot of dominant performance this year. They really seem like they are kind of just riding on their talent. And as we found out with the Trojans, that road ends very quickly when matched up against equally as talented and athletic opponents. And Clemson is just that. And so I'm agreeing with you, JD. I got Clemson. I think they cover the 7.5. I think they win by 10, maybe even 17. Give me Trevor Lawrence in the national championship game against Alabama. And I guess we'll have to wait, or you'll have to wait, our loyal fans and followers, to see who JD and I have in that game.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I guess we're going to see which teams show up if we're looking at this crystal ball the right way. I want to go ahead and ask you this, Jake. We see it every year. Teams peak at the right time when it comes to playoff time. We saw it a few years ago with Ohio State playing a third-string quarterback, and Ezekiel Elliott really hit his stride in that running game and things of that nature. Is there any chance that Justin Fields has his best ball ahead of him in this game, and maybe they're just slowly but surely trending to play their best ball when it comes to playoff time?
I think he's going to show up just because there's a lot of NFL scouts watching this game to see if he really is worth that top 5 pick. I'll tell you what, though, if things aren't going well in this game, I don't think he turns it on somehow in the second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. I think if things are going bad, they're going to go really bad. And Justin Fields will stay another year, as you kind of asked me before this. Is he coming out? Is he going to be a 4th, 5th overall pick? No, I think if he has a bad game here, JD, he's just going to come back for another year. There should be no reason why he should take this awkward year of chaos and let that ruin a couple millions of dollars going from maybe, again, the number 1 overall pick to somewhere in the teens or 20s.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I don't know exactly what his thought process is. And maybe his decision's already been made. But I mean, what do you have to lose if you're Justin Fields? Stay another year, probably be the #1 pick next year, be able to have another season with your guys. Going back to this game, though, I think Clemson is a team that, I know we talked about Ohio State trending upwards and playing their best ball at the right time. I think Clemson is the epitome of playing their best ball at the right time. They trend upward every single year and just peak at playoff time, it seems like. And Dabo Swinney just has this team always ready to play. They're no stranger to these kinds of games. So, again, I really like Clemson in this game. And I think you're right. If Justin Fields isn't playing well in the early going, he's not going to get back into this game. This isn't a get down by 2 scores and come back kind of game for them. It's, hey, you got to jump on this Clemson team early and force them to try and claw back into it. Because playing from behind against Clemson, bad news for the Buckeyes, Jake.
Bad news for the Buckeyes. Sorry for our Ohio State fans out there, JD. Our crystal ball will be put to the test. Maybe we are seeing it true, JD, with our Ohio State Buckeyes. I don't know, but that will be determined. Why don't you send us off here, off these New Year's Six Bowls? It's been a pleasure doing these videos with you in this crazy 2020.
Man, the pleasure was all mine. Go ahead, like, subscribe, comment, all those things that you do on YouTube or don't do on YouTube. But it's a pleasure for Jake and I to do this nonsense on YouTube, and we'll keep this mother's favorite sports show rolling as we get into the Natty in our very next video. So stay tuned for that as we keep this thing rolling on Washed Up.